I spent some time as a Montessori teacher at a trilingual kindergarten in Cairo, Egypt, and this episode is going to talk about how I'm taking some of that knowledge and also want to bring that into how we are going to be raising our daughter. This is episode 10 out of 30. I cannot believe we're now 1/3 of the way through my little mini challenge to myself of consistently posting on YouTube every day for 30 days during nap time. A little nap trap series, if you will, to do something different, tap into creativity and practice my storytelling and just, enjoy this nap trap time a little differently. So a little bit about this kindergarten, because it was my absolute favorite job, I think, that I have done so far. Well, if you saw the last episode, I've done a lot of jobs, and I've liked most of them for different reasons. But this kindergarten was English, Arabic, German speaking, and again, Montessori style. So it was actually set in an apartment building, and each of the rooms was a different subject. So we had the art room, the literacy room, the math room, the music room, and I was in charge of the garden area outside. And if you know a bit about Montessori, it's a lot of like child-led learning. So that was really fun to see the different things that kids would come up with and become curious about out in the garden. We had swings, we had things to climb on to work on your gross motor skills. There were obviously bugs in the garden that kids would come and bring me different bugs, and they would then take them to the science house and learn about bugs and how they connect to nature, to really see the real life thing and then go learn about the science aspect of it. We had a bunch of different fruit trees, so there were oranges, so we would pick oranges and make orange juice and do, there was like not a pretend play, but like, oh goodness, I'm forgetting the word for that too, but imaginative play, have the kitchen, but now you get to really make something, make your own orange juice. We had mangoes, obviously my favorite when it was mango season, and kids would wake up from their nap and just come say, Sydney, can we pick mangoes today? So truly an amazing job. There were different types of bicycles, balance bikes, tricycles and things. So there's a lot to do out in the garden and even in the apartment as well. It being trilingual, we had like a small group, we call them nest groups, and every morning it was a different teacher that was in charge, different language, in charge of circle time in the morning. So we had some different routines that we would do every day. We had a calendar that involved counting. So one day you're counting in English, one day you're counting in Arabic, one day you're counting in German. We had songs, introducing the kids who's sitting next to you, and sing a song, introduce themselves, and we would do that again in all the different languages on different days. So no matter what, the kids were exposed to all of the different languages, as well as, within the rooms. I obviously was an English speaking teacher, so if you're out in the garden and you're interacting with me, you have to interact in English. I at the time spoke Arabic, so I only had one instance where there was a little boy who just was not soaking in any of the other languages, and so just once I broke the rules of like can you go put the bike back? And we're going to lunch, said that in Arabic. And he was like, oh, okay, that's what we're doing. But for the most part, kids are sponges, if you speak to them. Our science teacher was a German speaker, so if you're interested in science and you go to the science house, you're going to be learning German because that's what she speaks. You go to the math area, it's going to be in Arabic. So that in and of itself is, again, interesting. You're exposed to all these different languages. And then in the afternoon, we had specific language groups. So, for example, we had a lot of parents from, that were mixed, multicultural families, shall we say. So maybe mom is Swedish and dad is German, or mom is German and dad is Egyptian. And so in those cases, okay, if your mom speaks German and your dad speaks Arabic, then you want a little extra help for your child in the third language, in English. So you could send your kid to the English afternoon circle, or the German afternoon circle, or the Arabic afternoon circle, and really focus in on languages. So we had students who maybe they spoke Italian at home, or French. Within this larger idea, of how the school is put together, then each teacher was individually in charge of putting together a portfolio and kind of taking care of up to 6 students. So at any given time, I had 6 students I was writing portfolios for and watching over in my nest group, and a bit extra focused on, if that makes sense. And I had a little girl from Italy, and so her mom had put her in the English circle because she needed a little extra help. She was the school, the kindergarten, was from 2 years and 4 months up until 5 years, and then you could go up into the upper school. So she was right at the younger threshold. So really, at the beginning, learning English, you could tell she was like, wait a minute, what is going on? And got to hang out a lot more with me. And I had a little boy that was from France. So again, not any of these languages, but he was older. He was more like 4.5. And again, kids are sponges when it comes to speaking languages, because he came in with none of the 3 languages, just French. And because he wanted to make friends, he learned English in a month. And I think was getting some German and getting some Arabic as well. But the kids that he wanted to play with mostly spoke English, and they would even come up to me and be like, he doesn't speak English yet, so we're teaching him. And that was just really cool. Or you could have one of the 4-year-olds. Again, I'm only supposed to be speaking English when I'm out teaching in the garden. And like I said, I had one kid that was having a bit of a tougher time with learning English. So I found one of the older kids that I know spoke all of the languages because he had been in the program for as long as he had. Was like, can you translate and tell, this other little boy he needs to put his bike away? We're going inside for lunch, and the fact that a 4-year-old already can be like, yeah, no problem, let me translate. Or even that kids understand pretty quickly, like, okay, I look at you, you're speaking English to me. I look at you, I know you speak German, so I'm going to switch and I'm speaking German with you. So interesting how little brains work. Of course, at the beginning, there's some like mixing of things. So maybe you'd have a sentence that's mostly in English, but kind of with German grammar, or a sentence that's maybe more German but has a Arabic word in it. You know, like they're kind of gonna all interweave together depending on how strong each language is, and that is okay. You know, like the brain is making these new pathways and it's learning. This is the most, you know, time that it's growing and learning anyway. So if kids learn languages early, it is a million times easier than trying to learn a language later in life. And also they're curious about it. You know, like maybe they don't understand, oh, I'm learning German because I like science. You know, but like that is truly how some of the kids learned. They decided, you know, or learning English, I want to be outside. I want to play outside all day. So, okay, I'm playing with Sydney and she's speaking in English to me, so I've got to learn, right? Sink or swim. Especially like German. I say I speak kindergarten German because I was at the school for 2 years, so you do pick up some, and there is some crossover of English words and German words, of course. But sometimes kids would say things to me and I'd be like, I also don't know what you're saying. So either we need to find a kid to translate, or like you got to find a way to say what you need or want in English. Otherwise, you're out of luck. So, now that philosophy and that idea, and truly understanding how important it is, I think, for kids to learn more than one language when they're young. Now, we have our baby girl, and obviously she'll be speaking English because I speak English, but Mito speaks Arabic, and living here in Saudi Arabia, I am so excited that we are around, you know, the default language is Arabic. Inshallah, she's not gonna struggle with learning English because that's my first language. So to be able to pass that on is fairly easy. And I have told Mito since even before we had a baby that not only speaking Arabic, but reading and writing from when you're little to understand and read and write as well. Super important. So it's so cute to see him, you know, interacting, as well as to be able to, you know, speak with his side of the family and speak English with my family, speak Arabic with his family. Now, if you've seen anything on Instagram, we've talked about it more, but she actually was born in Brazil. So she has a Brazilian passport, which means we will be adding Brazilian Portuguese to the mix as well. And that is something both me and Mito have to learn. We've already started. And Portuguese is a fun language, but it also is hard in its own way. And Brazil was very much an immersion experience for us. So, you know, stay tuned on this channel as we, you know, she starts speaking and reading and writing and all these things, and how we have 2 languages and then how we'll be adding in a third, you know. Then the jump to something like Spanish for a 4th is an easier one. And, you know, I think one of the biggest gifts you can give your kids is the gift of language. You know, if you can speak more than one language, especially in such a globalized world that we have now. And with that, the little miss is waking up. So I'm signing off on this one. Thank you for listening. If you've gotten this far, and subscribe to see what we talk about next.